You know, I honestly wish I could do more videos like this one. The last time I was able to use a project to just have fun was back when I printed a Warhammer Stormbolter, but alas, reviews take a long time to do properly, and so the creative side of the whole reason I got into doing this has taken a back seat. However, thanks to Prusa, I was able to shake off some hobby rust and create a video which was incredibly enjoyable for me to make, and one I think you'll get a kick out of. And thanks again to Prusa, you can now essentially create colour 3D prints on pretty much any resin printer on the market. But making it more accessible to you doesn't necessarily make it easy. Let's have a look at what it takes to make a model like this. Hi, I'm Ross and this is Foulhammer Videos. Those of you who've followed me for a while may have noticed that this is actually my first video working with Prusa. And for the rest of you, if you could hit that subscribe button, that'd be much appreciated. Prusa have sent me their colour resin kit for free, but I didn't get paid to make this video. I'm hoping this is a vehicle I can use to impress and cozy up to Prusa so that they start sending me their printers to review, but it will also allow them to assess my content for its directness, which you'll see in my conclusions by the end of the video. That's right. Of course I want Prusa on my side, that will fully round out my channel with that brand, but I'm still not going to pull any punches because that's the reason you came here. So yeah, they've released this CMYK kit. It's basically a pack of 6 resins and some extras. Those 6 resins are cyan, magenta, yellow, black and 2 bottles of white. And the included extras are some mixing cups, various size pipettes, some dark empty bottles and enough gloves to last you maybe 2 prints. But let's be fair, if you have a resin printer you're probably already using gloves by the box anyway. If not, I'd love some advice on what you do use because I'd love to stop throwing away glove after glove. Anyway, so you've probably guessed the way this works is that you mix different volumes of the coloured resins together to get a hue that you want. Yes, it's not layer by layer colour printing like in FDM, but I'll come on to that. Let's go through the process of this. So the first thing to do, like with any new resin, was to dial in the exposure times for it. And I'm using my Saturn IV Ultra for this project. See, I know I've been salivating over the Haygears printers lately, and I've taken a lot of shit for it because people don't like proprietary resin. And yeah, for whatever reason, fair enough. But just as I've said in other videos, just because I love the Haygears machines doesn't mean I don't still love and see huge value in other printers like the Saturn IV Ultra. The reason I chose to use it here, which meant driving to and getting it out of my storage unit, is because I can use the built-in exposure finder to quickly give me 8 exposure tests on one plate, and it's a really sharp printer, and it's incredibly fast, which should have sped up this project. Well, it has sped up this project, but it was still a long project. And if Prusa wanted me to show off Prusa printers on this video, well, they should have sent me one. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Come on, Prusa, send me some printers. For anyone who watched my video showing how this exposure test works, now you know the secret resin I teased at the beginning of that video. Anyway, thanks to this test, which I actually had to run a couple of times, I determined the best exposure time for the resin at 2 seconds for 30 micron layers. And Prusa had already advised that I'd need the same exposure times for all of the different coloured bottles or any mix of the colours. So this initial test and determination of exposure time will serve me for the whole project. I don't need to dial in every colour mix. But when I look at this resin, gotta be honest, it isn't the sharpest, most detailed resin on the market, but it has a nice amount of flexibility to it. Relatively, I'd say it's somewhere like Soraya Fast Navy Grey with maybe 20% tenacious resin mixed in, but that is just me eyeballing it. And since I'm not doing enough of my Warhammer hobby lately with all the printing I'm doing, I'm missing out on building things. So I decided to get into Gunpla, even though I don't have time for that either. I really should just stick with Lego. But for the model for this project, I initially grabbed an RX-78-2 bust by CMYK case on Thingiverse because it was a Gunpla bust and it was free. And I was halfway through building this model in Mesh Mixer to work out what parts are what colour when I realised the colours of this are mostly white, blue, yellow and red, along with a few greys. So I'd literally have been doing this whole video mixing just the black and white together. Woo! And that is kind of the lazy approach. I mean, if you're here to watch me actually suffer through a much more challenging task, right? Fine. If that's what you're here for, you're about to enjoy this. And if you do, hit like and leave a comment. So I remembered an Evangelion bust that my mate James from the channel Rising Ape used a few months back, and if you don't know that channel, please check it out. There's no reason I deserve 70,000 subscribers and he only has 10. If you sub to me, please sub to him too. He's got awesome content and he even edits his videos himself, and they're really good. So yeah, go and give him a follow please, link in the description. So I got this bust, which is from a creator who goes by the name CMYK. They do a ton of similar models and custom Gunpla style proxies too. Resin Gunpla is a whole different game to the plastic kits, but most of this guy's models look better than many of the retail box sets lately. That's how good they are. So now I have a model to print. The next task was sorting all of the parts of this bust into different folders on my PC based on the colours they should be printed in. I then used Lightree to support them, exported those supported build plates as STL files, and used Chitubox to slice them. And if you want to know why I used two applications when one could potentially do the job, check out my how to print miniatures video. This isn't a miniature, but the process is still sound. And once I had everything supported and sliced, I knew the volumes of each plate in both milliliters and grams. Now, in order to determine your mixes, Prusa provided me with a detailed instruction booklet that I mostly ignored. But in here we have 44 recipes for different colours. But since this is CMYK, a quick Google search tells me that you could potentially make up to 16,000 colours from these 5. The provided recipes include 20 basic hues, some tints and shades of those colours, which is basically some of those colours with white or black added, 4 skin tones and 4 grayscale colours. Well, actually 2, considering the other 2 are pure black and pure white. I do feel a bit bad for the wasted printer ink here telling me how to mix black using 100% black and white too. But thankfully, the way they communicated these mixes was in percentages, not ratios. Now when this product goes live, Prusa will have a calculator on their webpage where you can enter the volume of resin you need in a particular colour and it'll tell you the amounts you need to mix. It looks quite good. For me, I had to make a spreadsheet to calculate all of the volumes of each resin I'd need in each colour, and using the percentages, what the specific mixes were for each print. So again, I hope you like watching me jump through these hoops that you don't need to, but if you are enjoying that, well, haha, joke's on you here, because I'm such a nerd, I actually like making spreadsheet formulas. Haha. One thing you must be aware of though is even though you have your colour mixing volumes from the slicing files, Prusa recommended 30 milliliters of additional residual volume, which makes sense because you'll need some sat in the bottom of the vat rather than just the amount for the print itself. So, since it was the smallest piece I could use to test, I mixed up some of their lime green recipe first of all, like some Mad Resin Apothecary, and got to printing. And mixing is as simple as using your calculator, in my case Google Excel, in your case their website tool, and then pulling the required volume in milliliters from the bottles using the provided syringes and mixing them in the provided cups. Simple enough, yeah? But on my first pour into the vat, I realised instantly I had nowhere near enough resin to even cover the surface of my build area, never mind the print itself. Now part of this was me initially failing to get the calculations right in my spreadsheet. I said I like formulas, not that I'm good at them. But the other part is that I suspect the additional 30 grams of residual resin Prusa recommends is based on the vat from their 6-inch SL1 series of resin printers, not my much more impressive 10 inches. On this Saturn. In reality, I'm closer to the Prusa, but I've got 2 kids and that's all that matters. That joke's either going to get giggles and comments or it could get me cancelled, but f*** it, at least I rolled the dice. So yeah, I upped this 30 grams to 100, remixed my green and got to actual printing. But at the time I got this first one printing, I went off to the Nova Open in Washington DC, which is why I missed the deadline for this video. So sorry Prusa, please send me printers. Now I have no footage of Nova because I forgot my camera, so here's a quick slideshow of the places I went, people I went with, people I met, classes I taught in, and things I painted. TLDR, great time. Come see me at Essen Spiel or Form Next this year and get a free model while stocks last. It was when I got home that I realised I'd forgotten one major task. You see, after mixing the colours, you need to clean out everything. And since this isn't water-based resin, that means isopropanol, gloves and tissue paper. So you need to rinse out your pipettes with ISO, rinse out your cups, then you need to wipe them all and ensure they're fully dry before your next mix so you don't contaminate your fresh resin with traces of ISO, which could kill it. And then comes the colour swap in the printer as well. Now the handy bit is that the dark bottles you get with the kit can be used to store excess resin you make, well 4 excesses of resin anyway. So if you want to use it again, pour it into here, otherwise it's waste and therefore needs to be disposed of. Now whilst I love the Saturn IV for its speed and the exposure tests, I do not love this gap in the plate. I've said in reviews it's not a huge deal, and it's not if you use the same resin over and over. But with changing materials like I am with this project, boy is this a ball ache to clean out. The vat alone is bad enough with resin getting under the edges of the FEP. Also, remember in my review when I said the top of this is a bit slippy? Yeah, well on my Saturn IV, the basic one, not this, I actually dropped it because of this and tore my PFA film, but thankfully the screen's still fine. Thankfully. But this is something to seriously consider if you're looking at buying one of these Saturn IVs, and I hope Elegoo have heard the feedback loud and clear and we never see this design again. So anyway, I cleaned everything up and mixed my purple colour next. Unfortunately, the cups weren't big enough for the volume I needed, so I had to put this in 2 cups and mix it together in the vat. Now because this was a bit bright for the Evangelion model I wanted, I darkened it by adding some black until I was happy. But boy was this a bit of a silly idea. After my first print came off grey, I went on to the second plate of purple parts I needed, but I noticed halfway through I'd run out of resin. You see, the bit I didn't tell you is that my first green model failed because the supports I put on were too small. So for that one, I hastily just increased the support size and printed those parts again. Thankfully, because of my initial undercalculation and then overcompensation, I had enough of the green left in the excess I'd made to do this. But because of all the larger parts in the purple mix, I really needed to recalculate all of the slice sizes with the new, larger supports, which I hadn't done. And after doing this, and when remixing the volume for the second purple print, I realised I'd added black to that initial mix. So now I needed to put both mixes next to each other and guesstimate when my colour got close enough. Kinda worked. It worked well enough for you to not see any difference, so phew. And we're only 2 colours in, and I know it's taken us a while to get here, but this is kind of the point of the video. And at least we're having some laughs along the way, right? But the rest of this was basically mix colour, print object, clean plate, clean all the extra gubbins. Once that's done, clip off the support, sand down the support marks and stick everything together. But I'll let you watch that as I continue through my conclusion. Now, I have to admit, even though this whole process was an absolute ball ache, I have had fun, and a lot of fun. Just realistically, I don't know how much demand there is for this type of product in resin printing. We've all seen colour printing now with the likes of the Stratasys J55, which I covered in my Mini Factory video, and they use theirs to print colour miniatures for their customers. This obviously isn't that. This is more like FDM printing, where you have separate colour filaments. But in resin printing, unless you've got something like the incredible, amazing, wonderful, haven't seen a better printer ever, even though I've never had one, wish you would send me one Prusa XL or something with an AMS unit, which makes it easier, you just buy the different colours, take one out and put another one in. You don't need to go through the hassle of calculating or mixing or the cleanup afterwards between each print. Resin cleanup is already a pain in the arse, and it's more here depending on how many colours you want to have. And even then, there aren't many or maybe any creators out there making resin models in multiple parts separated by colour. There are some in FDM prints, and the one that comes to mind is one I've fallen in love with lately, which is models by the Kit Kiln, who creates all of his models in separate colours as kits, so they're all push fit, and they're all for FDM printers. And even the parts for this Evangelion bust aren't actually separated into coloured parts, and I've had to make a call as to what parts will be what colour, even though it's wrong. And smaller elements like eyes aren't separated out at all, which is why they're dark grey here. So I still need to do some painting if I want this to look good, and I don't know of any other models that are separated like this. If you do know creators making models separated by colour that would work with this, please let me know in the comments, because I'd like to share it. Perhaps it's more chicken and egg, and now that these colours are available, we could see creators making models with this in mind, but I don't know. I'd rather just enjoy painting them. But objectively, I do think this is cool, and to have one practical application inspiration. Maybe that's if you play war games and don't care about painting, you could actually print out your armies in different colours to represent different factions. Thanks Titanforge for letting me nick this footage. Thanks for everything you do. Please check out Titanforge. Links in the description. However, if that is the case, I still don't know why you wouldn't just buy a few resins in several different colours to suit your specific need. So I don't know. Do you want this type of thing? Do you see a use for it that I haven't? Please let me know in the comments. But whatever you do, please like the video and comment something so this video gets views and Prusa sees that I'm worth sending printers to, because then I get to review them and that helps you long term. Do you like the look of this product? Do you see a use for it? Also, it costs €160. Thanks for watching, and a huge thanks goes to our members who are on screen now. Please consider joining them to get your name up in lights, Discord roles, and exclusive videos and early access. Until next time, fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Fohammer out.